Hello and welcome to, well, a very special episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff.
Yes.
I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And we're going to have some festive fun.
Exactly.
Allegedly.
Well, that'll be a change.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so Merry Christmas.
Yes, and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. We've got shiny lights.
We have. No expense spared on the old budget. So
this is the Riff budget, isn't it? This is as good as it
gets.
Yes,
exactly. It's kind of, I was kind of channeling ELO from the 1970s with Out of the Blue concert, or maybe Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, live, something like that. So we've splashed out on a major, well, let's call it a laser light show.
We're pushing the boundaries.
Yes,
We're pushing the boundaries.
I'm not sure which ones, but
no, sure.
Bad taste.
But we thought we'd talk about some interesting things and some stuff which is, hi-fi related. So we've got, we're going to talk a little bit about our systems because we quite like talking about our systems and what we're using at the moment. We've got a show and tell.
Yep.
We've got a bit of a quiz.
We have.
Where you're going to catch me out with incredibly difficult questions, no doubt. So we'll give it a go.
Absolutely.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, well, so we've had a number of comments asking for details of our respective systems. And I think we will do a special episode on our systems, but we thought we'd introduce them now. We won't kind of get into too much detail and bore you off your sofas, but we'll just give you a sort of a sneak peek of what we've got. And I think many viewers probably already know Mike's system because he talks about it.
All I've got to talk about. That's it. That's nothing else.
I'm guessing it's got thin isobarics in.
Yes. It's pretty what you would call in the old money flat Earth, I guess. Yeah. But it's a throwback system now because I bought it many years ago, and when we occasionally sort of review things, then it's nice to have a system where you know exactly what it sounds like, and you've got that sort of that yardstick, that sort of measuring point, haven't you? So that's kind of where my system's evolved from.
Yeah. With
a couple of sort of modern twists chucked in. So when I say flat Earth, it's sort of very sort of Lin name exposure.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So still got an LP12.
Yeah.
Using the name Arrow, which was the unipivot tone arm, which for my ears is still one of the best tone arms I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Get a little bit restricted on cartridges for it. I've actually got an Audio Technica in there at the moment, which works okay, but it's coming to the end of its tether. And I think the next thing which I'm going to be changing will be that for a Lyra cartridge, because we're fans of Lyras. We've heard them performing very well.
Yeah. So maybe a Dell, something like that, the sort of entry level one, which is better than most most companies' flagship ones, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I've got a custom made bit of kit, which is quite interesting. So there's a guy I met years ago called Tom Evans, who's still in the industry and still designing amplifiers.
Yeah.
And he designed an amplifier called the Finestra, or late 80s, which was a preamp, and it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. DC coupled preamp, really proper. And he built me a one-off phono stage, which was basically the Finestra phono stage with an external power supply. So I still use that, which is pretty cool. And then I've got a whole bank of weird and wonderful amplifiers. I've got 3 exposure power amps, which are active into active isobarics with an active crossover.
What power amps are they called? What's the number of them? I always forget.
I've got 3 exposure 4 power amps.
Yeah.
I've got...
And they're stereo, aren't they?
Stereo power amps.
Yeah.
One to the treble unit, one to the mid, one to bass. And then we've got...
per side. Yeah.
Per side.
Yeah.
And then I've got some power supplies, which are exposure dual regulated 9 power supplies, 9 of the number.
Yeah.
One goes to the exposure preamp, one goes to the active crossover.
Yeah.
The active crossover is oh my gosh, I want to say a 5. I think it's a 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 5. So there we are.
Yeah.
Good old John Farlow.
Yes, it's so easy to remember the names, isn't it?
With his numbering system, yes. Yeah. And then speaking of names, I've got a name stream.
Let's see what you did there, Mike.
There you are, which is great, which I really love.
You're a pro.
I'll
never reach to your level, I'm afraid, of segues like that.
So. Brilliant. Not sure what at, but pro at something. And I've got my Lynn mug, look.
Yes. Yeah, so, by the way, cool. So we had a comment, I can't remember who it was. My apologies to the person whose name I've now forgotten, complaining about me drinking out of like cheap plastic bottles. So for our festive fun special, we thought we'd pull the stops out and
Look at that. You've got your Radio 1 Roadshow mug,
Yeah.
which most people won't know what that is.
There you go.
So you're going to be way too young.
I'm hip with the kids, you know.
And I have my Lynn Exact mug, which you gave me, which I'm very proud
Yeah.
of. Look at that. Very cool.
So,
I like that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So cheers, everyone.
Going well with my Christmas cough.
Yes.
It's just a
Yes.
mug full of cough mixture.
Mike's got a cough for Christmas.
Mm.
So,
Something like that, anyway.
yeah.
So, yes. So, and yours?
So, well, you've also got obviously your isobarics are the right. Was it? Let's think. So you had isobaric DMS and PMS, didn't you?
That's right. Yes.
Now, in the annals of history, I remember that the DMS was the domestic
monitor system.
and you don't have those.
No, have the PMS, which is the professional one. Basically, they don't have a crossover.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
Yeah.
So the Exposure 5 provides the active crossover.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not that makes a massive difference, people always used to swear about active systems, but actually the Lynn isobaric passive crossovers were very, very good crossovers indeed.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe it does, but I'd have to get a set of passive crossovers and do the comparison,
Yeah.
which actually would be quite easy to do. But these things, getting old these days, and they're probably getting a bit old and worn out, but still love the old isobarics.
Yeah.
We had who's your pal who does the speaker repairs? Really nice chap.
Yeah. So the guy that I've used mostly is from Anna Peach Audio.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy, and he's done a number of different speakers for me and restored them, and we've got much better results. But we'll talk about him in another riff.
Yeah,
because,
sure.
We need to do a proper riff on
I agree.
speaker.
I agree. All I was going to say was he said don't worry about refurbing the isobarics because there's not too much to go wrong. There's more trouble pulling them to pieces than the result you'll get with them.
Yeah.
So they kind of are what they are.
Yeah.
I've actually got the full house though, haven't I? Because I've got Zara 9 bi-wired, last ones ever made, rosewood as well, which were a factory order.
That's not like you to have a limited edition.
No, well, the turntable, I wasn't going to mention it, but as you've mentioned it, my turntable's rosewood as well. And there's not too many rosewood Lins out there. You probably can't, even say that anymore. It's destroying rainforests and stuff like that. But, and I've also got the cans, which we're doing in our listening room here at the moment. So.
Well, if you're wondering where the rainforests have gone, they're mostly in Mike's
They
house.
did rosewood isobarics as well. I think.
Did they?
I mean,
Wow.
gosh, they were massive money. If anyone's got a pair of those, then you really are responsible for huge amounts of global warming. Yes.
I mean, so it was very interesting. If I may comment on your system, we had the B&W 803 D4s, didn't we?
Yeah.
So Mike had his isobarics forcibly removed from his listening room for a period, and it was fascinating to hear the exposures, which are basically early 90s vintage exposure, driving the B&Ws, and they sounded fantastic, didn't they?
Amazing, really.
Yeah.
And that was only two of them because we just sort of biamped them directly into the B&Ws. Yeah, it sounded incredible.
Yeah.
It was a real tribute to how good the exposure amps are, and really, really well thought out. But in those days they're massively over-engineered. You can hardly pick them up. They're a two-man lift, and they massive transformers in them, but just a very simple circuit.
Yeah.
And dare I say, not too many things to go wrong.
Yeah.
And John Farlow, who was the guy who designed the early exposure stuff, who I've had the pleasure of meeting actually many moons ago, who's a really lovely guy. Clearly, just sort of thought, well, let's make everything big and powerful and quality components, but let's try and make it as straightforward and as easy as we can.
Yeah.
Other person who thought very much of that way was a pal of ours, the very late Richard Dunn from NVA, who had the same ethos, which was beautifully engineered but very simple, power amplifiers in particular.
Yeah.
And you know, passive preamps and so on.
Yes.
So
I mean, he was the sort of extreme exponent
was,
of less is more, wasn't he?
100%.
If he could get away with it, he'd have no components in his amps, basically.
No, quite.
He saw every single component as a potential opportunity to ruin the sound, didn't he? So,
Yeah. And do you know? Well, the company's come back now, hasn't it? It's been taken over post Richard, obviously, who had left us last year, I think, wasn't it? Post pandemic.
Very recently, yeah.
Very recently. And they've kept the same ethos, which I really like, and you know, hats off to them. Yeah. And we reviewed one of the pre-powers.
We did. We reviewed their basic entry-level pre-power package, and that was really good.
It was gorgeous.
And they've got a new integrated out now, which we'll be reviewing soon.
That would be good, wouldn't it? That would be good.
Yeah.
And we've got a few things in the pipeline, I think, coming up for reviews, which will be exciting. Kind of almost sort of watch this space.
Yeah.
But I'm hogging the limelight here. Because my systems, we couldn't really have much more different systems, because mine's very, very flat earth.
Yeah.
And yours is, you know...
mine's weird.
Yes, I wasn't going to say that, but as you've said it, I'll just agree.
So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You said, no, David, it's beautifully well balanced and not at all eccentric. But so I've my system. So actually, to be fair, we've both got several systems.
Yes,
so we're talking about our main systems.
Yes.
But
go to.
so my main system for me is obviously working, doing reviewing for various magazines over the years. It's basically been a review tool, and it has to be a consistent one. So many hi-fi journalists will sort of pick and choose all the latest flashy components from whoever, and you know, it changes obviously when the new amp comes out. They get the new one and so on. I've tried in mine to have a kind of consistency for a long period, so I can kind of think about the first time I reviewed a B&W 801, you know, like in 2003, for example.
Of course, yes.
And make a kind of mental note of how it compared to my system, which is virtually the same as it was back then, with maybe a few exceptions. So I've gone for consistency, and I've gone for something that is highly revealing and works well in my room. So I've started. We'll go backwards in this case. I'll start from the speakers.
Okay.
So many people will know I've got Yamaha NS1000Ms.
Yes.
So they're about, I think they came out in 1978. I didn't buy a pair until about 1991 or 2 or something. But they went through a period of being incredibly unfashionable, because every Japanese speaker that came out in the 80s looked like NS1000Ms, and they were kind of black and had sort of little silver trims around the drive units and so on. And you know, but there was sort of a difference, because NS1000Ms had and have beryllium tweeter and mid-range unit, which is very light, super light.
Yes,
and a sort of 12-inch carbon fiber woofer, paper carbon fiber, I think, woofer. And they've got a sealed box, so they're infinite baffle, like your isobarics. In fact, a lot of speakers we like are infinite baffle, aren't they?
Very often.
Yeah. And because they're infinite baffle, they're easier to place in the room. You can place them firmly against the back wall, and they don't sort of overtake or overblow or overdrive the room anywhere near as much as, you know, if it had a rear ported speaker. So they're very revealing. They're very fast because of the light drive units. And for a long time I was always looking for a really good amplifier to drive them, and I've had many. I've had a lot which I'll talk about in a future episode. But I've often tried to go down the Class A solid state route, like a Musical Fidelity AMS 35, which was a lovely sort of £4,000 or £5,000 solid state Class A. But I've kind of ended up with a Sony TA-N86, and most people will not know that at all. It's a 1978 power amp that's pre-Esprit, because they were very famous for doing the Esprit stuff in the 80s. But I think this thing cost around sort of £700 or £800 in '78. So that would be nearly the price of a Mini 850 back then. So it's quite expensive. And it's switchable between Class A and Class AB. It's about 30 watts per channel of Class A, and I think it's about 80 into Class B. And so it gives me the flexibility when I really want to, go for it. I've got a bit more oomph. You can switch into Class AB. But in Class A, it sounds really exquisite, but you can see the amp is slightly running out of puff at higher volumes with the NS1000s. But it doesn't run out of puff in Class AB. But it's still not, I would say, as powerful as your exposures, which have got great grunt. And your exposures have got a fantastic load driving ability. And one of the things about the Sony is it doesn't have that because of its design. And we'll go into this in another riff because it's quite a complex design. But so that's working with a TAE 86, which is the matching preamp, which is lovely. It's got a fantastic phono stage and really fantastic, beautiful design, really expensive back in the day. And driving that is my turntable, or one of them, which is a Marantz TT1000, which again, I think it came out in about 1980. So we're everything I've mentioned so far is basically 1980 or before. And the Marantz, when the LP12 was 265 quid, the Marantz was 1,000. So it's very expensive, very high end, very heavy, and it's so heavy it's really unpleasant to pick up and move, and it's just an absolute pain basically. So
all of this so far is a little bit buyer beware though, isn't it? Because if you were to go onto eBay, and in fact there's plenty of pairs of NS1000s on eBay, they crop up fairly regularly. I think your advice would probably be, be super careful, because there are NS1000s and there are NS1000s. The same with all of your other bits of kit as well.
Yeah, I think with classic hi-fi, you've got to think of them like classic cars. So there's a lot to go wrong as components fail, and the contacts get nastier as they get older. The potentiometers degrade. And lots of things can go wrong, so you have to be very careful, and especially the case with loudspeakers. The physically, obviously the drive units move, and as they move over time, the roll surrounds get sort of decay and so on, like your shock absorbers or your tires on your car.
Exactly.
So all of the stuff I'm using is kind of basically either mint and had really low mileage, as it were, or has been kind of rebuilt and everything. But there's still the possibility of things not being quite right. But so far, touch wood, it's been it's reasonably reliable. And the new thing that I've got, I've got several, but the new thing is the Chord Hugo TT2 DAC. We both like that a lot, don't we?
It's amazing, actually. It really is a superb bit of kit. We've talked about it a lot. In fact, we did a review with the M scaler as well, which we were super impressed with. I'm constantly amazed as to how good it can make other pieces of equipment sound. So by that I mean, if you have just a fairly cheap transport, even a not very expensive DVD player with a digital output, then it can sound phenomenally good, can't it?
Yes.
It's a really, really accomplished.
Yeah, even on
hi-fi
16-bit 44 CD. So it can.
Excuse me.
It's okay. So it can make I've heard 1644 CD sound better on that than I've high res 24192 from most other DACs. I'd say almost all other DACs.
Incredible. Yes.
Maybe with the exception of some DCS and the top lin stuff.
Yes.
But it's a lovely bit of kit, and it's just a great thing, and it's at a really nice price point. It's not crazily expensive. I wish it was cheaper, but it's reachable if you kind of save up long enough and don't go on holiday and
exactly.
eat lentils for a year.
Quite, and
so,
worth it as well.
Yeah.
Who needs south of France and wine
absolutely,
and,
yes,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, it's an amazing piece of equipment. In fact, we've talked about this before, I know, but I remember when you came around with the original Hugo.
Yeah.
And we listened to that, and you said to me, can you just make sure this is as good as I think it is? And it was amazing. It was the best DAC we'd heard at the time, I think.
Yeah.
And this is an evolution of that, and it's a super DAC. Really like it. Really like it.
Yep.
In fact, Corda, I know they've been flavour of the month for a while now, but they're still making some great products. The Mojo 2, one of the best products of the year. Q-Tist is a real great little DAC.
Yeah.
And we talked about using that with a Marantz CD player recently, didn't we, in one of our riffs? So you've got a bit of a sort of old world and very much new world in your system.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anything in terms of amplifiers, loudspeakers, or turntables has really got better in 40 years. I'm probably going to be, I'm going to blow up the internet by saying that, but right at the very high end, it was possible to buy stunning stuff, 40 years ago that's pretty much there or thereabouts with anything now. There are some exceptions. You could say the Technics SL1000R, which is the new top high-end Technics, is a better turntable than the Marantz, but it's still there or thereabouts, and because I've been lucky to try both. There are things I would change. For my own reasons, I do a lot of cartridge reviews, so I've ended up with an Audio-Technica AT1010 tone arm, which is has got a detachable head shell, and I know that would make us back in our kind of hi-fi review days, cringe, because the idea of having a detachable head shell and a tone arm is sort of sacrilege, isn't it?
Yeah. Do it's funny you say that, because I remember when you had a name Arrow tone arm with a detachable head shell as well. And you for reviewing purposes.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was for me the ultimate idea of heresy.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah.
So that was so I think the damage that detachable head shells do is overstated. I still think it's not ideal, but they bring. So if you're doing a group test of 6 moving coil cartridges, life is much better with that. And there are weaknesses, other weaknesses down the line, as it were, that are bigger than that. But I'm currently using an Audio-Technica AT33S, which is, I can't remember, it's about 700 quid moving coil. I've got all kinds of moving coils, which I'll talk about in another time. I've got a Supex SD900 Vital restored, which is amazing. Fantastic cartridge, a Lyra Delos and others. So
I'm looking for a Lyra Delos at the moment. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I might let you have my one, Mike, for a week, and then you and then you have to give it back.
Yes.
So So to me, the system. I mean, what do you think of it? You've heard it, obviously.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. It's like a lot of great systems, it's sort of almost better than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense. There's probably a few things which you could say aren't great about a few bits and bobs, but put them all together and it's like alchemy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And certainly, I remember taking the mickey out of your NS1000s when you first got them, but I've been nothing but overwhelmed by how good they are.
Yeah.
They really are incredible speakers, and we've tried them with all sorts of amps and inputs as well.
Yeah.
Your Marantz turntable's exquisite.
Yeah.
I think going back to the Audio-Technica, they make great mid-price cartridge. Well, if you can call £700 mid-price, but moving coils. You can spend an awful lot of money for a moving coil, but I think that they're sort of that price point is Audio-Technica's sweet spot.
It is,
and it always has been. With cartridges like the OC7, OC9 back in the day.
Yeah.
Terrific cartridges, actually not stupidly expensive.
Yeah.
And I really like that. That's a great bit of kit.
Yeah.
But we've heard your system sound amazing with some of the most unexpected components as well.
Yeah.
But those Sony amps are lovely.
Yeah.
They really, really are very, very sweet.
Yeah.
Take a little bit of time to warm up.
Yeah.
You can't just stick them on and listen to them.
Yeah. And they've got a slightly forensic sound, haven't they?
Yes.
They're not kind of super warm, but they certainly sweeten up a bit in Class A.
Yes.
And so it's just a very good reviewing tool, and the NS1000s are super transparent, and they tell you all about what's driving them. So it works for me, and it's a tool, it's a reviewing tool, and I've laid the system out in a way, it's all on Quadraspire low-level tables rather than on a rack, so I can easily move stuff in and out and substitute it. So it's basically like a kind of, working.
Yes,
it earns its living. It works for its living, and it's a very good reference because you get something in and you instantly hear a difference. It gives you an idea how it compares over time. So
it's phenomenally detailed.
Yeah, it is.
It's one of these systems where, and I'm sure many people will have had this experience, is you put a record on which you think you know quite well, and you'll be hearing things in it which you've never heard before, and that's quite that's always such a surprise when that happens.
Yeah,
it really is. And I know you're gonna have a go at me for talking about this, but so on a few of our early Rush albums, for example, then the quality of the production is actually on a normal system, an average system, can sound really quite thin.
Yeah.
But on yours, it really, really comes to life. And it's not until you listen to it on a great system you realise actually they're really well recorded. Not just Rush albums, that's a crass example, but lots of albums which you think are average actually sound brilliant on your system because of that level of detail.
Well, I mean, I think, graduating, as it were, improving this system over the years, you often think that albums you don't think were well recorded are better than you thought, and ones that you did think were well recorded are worse.
It's funny, isn't it?
I know, it's weird, and I'm sure many viewers have found exactly the same thing.
And sometimes that's really brilliant, and sometimes it's quite disappointing.
Yes.
But there we are. But I guess that's down to sort of original productions and people making mixes for radio and all these things which we're not going to go into. But there we are, there's our systems.
Yeah.
Laid bare for you.
We can bore for Britain on them, and we'll do them in greater detail at another time. But that you now know what we're using in our main systems, at least, and
absolutely,
our second, third, and fourth ones are another matter for another day. So
excellent. Right, where are we going now?
Right, so it's because it's Christmas and New Year.
Yes.
It's time to play a party game, and Mike's happily volunteered, or no, I volunteered Mike to do this. And so here we have. This is a Santa's Christmas sack, otherwise known as a name record bag of a certain vintage, and
yes.
Do you want to close your eyes, Mike?
Stick my hand in.
No, well. So close your eyes, and I'm going to pull out a physical media, and you have to tell me what it is.
Okay.
So
here we go.
Hang on,
I feel like I'm being set up here.
Okay, there you go. You have to fumble it and tell me what you think it is.
Well, it's smaller than a cassette. Oh gosh. Heavens above. It's got to be a DAT tape. I reckon that's a DAT tape.
So you're cheating.
It's a DAT tape. Look at that.
It's a DAT tape.
Well, there probably wasn't much that was smaller than a cassette, and and there we go. Look at that.
I suppose that is true. It could be a micro cassette, but
I had a DAT player.
Did you?
For a while. I had a portable one which I quite liked.
Yeah.
I remember taking it to a Squeeze concert and making a really great recording. Illegally. So there we are.
So
good.
If the British Phonographic Institute is watching,
I raised it immediately.
Email the show. Email us and I'll give you Mike's address. So any guesses on when this came out, roughly?
Okay, so good question. So I'm going to have a go at 1985.
I think it was 87.
Was it?
But,
Okay. I remember the headline
yeah,
on
yeah.
Hi-Fi Review, DAT wipes out CD.
Yes.
So,
And of course it didn't.
Didn't. No, it didn't. It didn't.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
right.
next.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
So, here we go.
Uh-oh. Okay, feeling nervous again. Oh, what have we got? Oh. Oh, gosh. Okay. Oh, okay. I've got it. It's a 7-inch single. 7-inch single?
Yes.
Do you want me to guess what it is?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be something you like. So it'll have a synth theme to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be something like I don't know, Penguin Cafe Orchestra, possibly, maybe a bit obscure. Didn't do too many 7-inches.
Wrong. Okay. Right.
ABC.
No. There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Go on then. Oh, it's Kate Bush.
Yep.
There we are. Wow.
It's the greatest Christmas song ever, I think. December will be magic again.
There we go. I wouldn't have got that. Very good. I'd have gone sort of more, Buggles or something, I guess. So, Trevor Horn.
There you go. And anyone know when the 7-inch single came out? So, the reason
originally?
Yeah.
No.
I don't either.
No, not a clue.
I'm guessing it's got to be late 50s, I guess.
Well, have to be 45 RPM as well, wouldn't it? So.
Yeah, so there will be people watching this who know it very well. Hayden Boardman, I think you probably could help us in the comments here, so please help, Hayden. So it's a great, and this, I think this was 1980, was it? Yeah, there you go, 1980.
Very good.
Brilliant, okay.
So that was competing with Another Brick in the Wall, which was #1 in Christmas 1980.
Yes.
Pop
and much better than Pink Floyd rubbish. Right, okay, here we go.
Gosh, getting nervous again. Oh.
So,
okay.
Mind the polythene wrapper.
Now, I think this is a trick, okay, because it feels just like a cassette, a compact cassette, but knowing you, it'll be something different. But it does feel like one. Okay, I'm just going to go with a C90 compact cassette.
Wrong.
Oh, look, it's a DCC. Wow. Look at that.
Yep.
Digital compact cassette.
There you go.
Very cool. Don't see many of these, do you?
No rubbish. So
still wrapped.
Excellent.
And
And you can't unwrap it, Mike.
do you have a player?
No. Yeah, no, I don't. Not at the moment. I have had.
Okay.
But this was Philips, and I think it was Matsushita. It's Panasonic's. So it was, Panasonic's answer to another format that came out the same year. I think it was 92, and it was a heroic failure, or maybe a not so heroic failure.
No, sure.
But it was certainly a failure. We're all agreed on that. Okay.
Well, the same. That was the problem with both. They were sequential access, weren't they, rather than random access? That's where CD won every time.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. There we go.
Oh, I know what this is. In fact, I know exactly what this is. I think this is. It's a reel-to-reel, obviously, but I think it's a reel-to-reel recording of one of our pals' bands.
Okay then, Mike, you win.
Okay, so it's our theme tune. It's the Hi-Fi Riff theme tune, which was recorded by a good friend of ours called Simon Lythe, who's a very, very talented musician.
Yeah.
And the song on our theme tune is called Mike's Jumper.
Yep.
Which was about my jumper.
Was it really?
Yes.
You'd never know by the title.
Yes, and this is the recording. So there we go. This is actually a copy of it.
Was it off the mixing desk or something?
It was. It was recorded in Oxford.
Yeah.
Down the Cowley Road in Oxford.
Okay.
I don't even want to think what year, but probably 1987, something like that.
Was that near where they sell drums?
I think you had to be on it to record it. But no, Simon and Paul and Alistair and Paul were the guys, and they were good musicians, and very sad they didn't take it any further. But there we are, 1-on-1.
Exactly.
Called 1-on-1. There we go. That's cool, isn't it? Love that.
There you go. Okay.
I liked reel-to-reel as a format.
Yes.
I've still got an Akai reel-to-reel player, and it makes a lovely sound.
Yep.
It really does.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to do this again, haven't I?
So, right, here we go. Stop gossiping.
Okay.
Get back to work.
Okay.
So this is going to be a hard one.
Gosh. Oh no, it's not. I've got the rounded corner.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got it. So this is an 8-track. This is an 8-track, surely.
It is. Okay.
Oh, look at that. Peter, Paul and Mary, the Late Again album, 8-track. Look at that.
Great album.
That's so funny.
So,
Just trying to see when that was.
So that, I think the album was going to be 67, something like that.
Wow.
But this would have come later. I guess the 8-track itself would have come out 74, something like that. So, but yeah, so
Fascinating concept, 8-track.
it was, yeah, and a completely stupid one, if you ask me. So it could have been so much better, but it's kind of cool because there you go, 1968, I think the album came out. It just reminds me of Jensen Interceptors.
And Rolls-Royce.
Yes.
Rolls-Royce had 8-track players in them as well, because they honestly thought that was the future.
Yeah.
And I actually, many moons ago, had an 8-track recorder as well, which was the most pointless piece of equipment ever. And it really didn't make very good recordings.
You've had a lot of pointless pieces of equipment.
Oh my
haven't you,
God,
Mike?
I am the master of the pointless pieces of equipment. We got more, have we?
We have, yeah.
Oh gosh, okay, here we go. Go on then.
There we go.
That must just be a cassette. Surely that's just a normal standard. Oh, is it?
What brand?
Cassette. What brand? Oh my God.
Okay, you can tell me what it's not.
I can tell you what it's not.
Yeah, the clues in the case.
Really? Okay. Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right then. Go on.
I'm flummoxed.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's a Sony HF.
Yeah.
Why was the clue in the case?
So TDK, not a lot of people know this.
Here we go.
So TDK had a strange kind of cross pattern on their cases at the same time.
Yes.
So you could have said that's a cassette, but it's not a TDK SA AD ODD or from 1980 or 79. So you got a bonus
like
point for that, Mike.
Braille cassette.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically.
Okay.
So, there you go.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't have got that.
Original for rapper viewers.
We learn something every
No,
day.
no rubbish for us.
No, very good.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. No. Okay. Oh. It feels like a Top Trumps set, which I gave you for Christmas once. Supercars.
Go on then. You're wrong about it. It's not supercars.
Prototypes. Look at that. We used to play this all the time. Used to love Top Trumps.
Yeah.
Still got a few of them.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So there you
Top
go.
Trumps prototypes.
Yes.
Gosh.
That was basically when, certainly when we were at sort of school, that was like most lunch breaks, wasn't it?
That was, yes.
Yeah. So completely wasted youth, basically.
No, and you were always really happy
done
to have
so
an
much.
American muscle car because it had like
You were,
7.2 litre engine.
Exactly.
And that would always be your Lamborghini or your Ferrari.
Yes.
So,
sort of, Chrysler something or other with a 7.3 engine with 180 bhp.
Yes, yeah. And if you wanted to steal your Lamborghini, then you'd sort of have, I don't know, like some kind of Renault which was quite heavy.
Yeah.
Because the Lamborghinis are always really light.
Yeah.
So you need to sort of know your audience, didn't you? Top
That's
Trumps.
right.
Gosh. Okay.
So, by the way, that's not a musical format. That's like the Joker.
That's just okay. Joker in the pack.
Okay, here you go. This is going to be.
Okay. Oh, this is dead easy. This is your favourite album. Your favourite artist and your favourite album. So look, with my eyes closed, this is David Soul, who not many people know this. David's absolute favourite artist in the whole world. Keeps this definitely to himself. It is. Look, it's the David Soul.
That is not true, by the way.
It's completely true. Don't try and deny it. This is your
I
favourite
did
album.
quite like Silver Lady, though.
Yeah, and Don't Give Up on Us Baby, but neither of those are on this album, are they? Because it's just way more niche market.
Well,
than that.
you probably know all the tracks better than I would, Mike.
It does look like he was in the wrong genre of acting, doesn't he, with that dodgy moustache? But we won't malign poor old David. So
okay, so your starter for 10. What year was the LP record launched?
Yeah, don't know. I should know that and don't.
1948.
Wow, there we are.
Stereo 1958.
Is that 1948? David Soul?
No, this is 1978. I
Okay.
think. So I'll just have a quick check. There you go, 1976. So just in case you wanted to write in and complain about my So
there
you go.
Excellent.
Quality. And
Excellent.
what a great format vinyl is.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
What's not to love?
Oh, absolutely.
There you go.
Gosh. Yeah. And so many things to talk about.
Quick sniff.
Did you just sniff it
yes.
then? Gosh, this is a bit strange.
Just checking.
Yeah, I remember going to Notting Hill Record and Tape Exchange and sort of looking on the spines of the albums to see what release it was, and looking in the run-out grooves and see if it was an A1 groove and all that stuff. And, trying to make sure you got it as close to the original master recording as you could, and all of these things.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Okay, and close your eyes again.
Oh, and is there more?
2 more.
2 more. Okay, well that has to be a CD.
Yeah, which
I
one?
would say, oh gosh, well it can't be David Soul because it could be, I suppose. I'm going to go with another. It's got to be Trevor Horn this time. I'm going to have to go with the Trevor Horn. You couldn't turn it without something to do with Trevor Horn.
Go on then. Open your
so
open your
I'm
eyes.
going to go with. Is it a Yes album?
No.
Okay. Okay. Oh, it's Buggles. I've got Age of Plastic. What a classic album this is. If you haven't heard this, you need to hear this. This is the Age of Plastic by Buggles. Original one on Island Records. Fantastic. What you really want to do, though, a bit of a top tip. I don't know how well we can pick this up. You don't want it with the barcode on.
No.
Because that note shows that it's post-original recording. You want the pre-barcode recording. There we are.
But not digitally remastered, though.
This
is the original.
Exactly. This is an AAD, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Analog recording, analog mix,
Yep.
and then digital mastered.
Yep.
So very cool. Very, very cool. And Living in the Plastic Age is probably the best song on there. And like most people would say, Video Killed the Radio Star, which isn't as good.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, last one. Okay. Oh, it's one of our favourites.
Yep.
Oh, we've done a riff on it. And you've got a better player than me, and I'm upset. It's a mini disc.
It is.
That lovely lost format. Do you know, I'm still very fond of these. I just think this was a great idea. Really, really cool, wasn't it? Serial access. Random access, wasn't it? And just really, really lovely. Great design. Such a shame it never really took off. I can understand why, but it just didn't quite happen for them, did it? There we are.
There you go.
What's on that one?
Nothing.
Okay.
It's a blank.
Right. Okay.
Excellent. Well, there we go. Thank you, Mike, for that amazing.
Pleasure.
You bust that pretty well, I have to say.
Yes.
So, and in the next segment, we will be doing show and tell.
Okay.
Which is where Mike and I both bring stuff and show it to you and tell you about it.
Should we take a pause and have a beer? Right,
exactly.
We're going to pause for a beer, and we will be back with our next show and tell riff.
See you in a second. Bye.
Full disclosure, I saw the David Soul album before we started. See you later. Bye.